Hello, my name is Chuck Behrens, and I currently am a spiritual care coordinator at Hospice of the Western Reserve. I've been doing this job since 1994, and I first found out about hospice and palliative care from an ethics committee. I was a part-time chaplain at a hospital, and I was on the ethics committee, and we had a presentation given by hospice. Their CEO at that time was David Simpson. He came out with their director of communications, and they talked to us about palliative care and what it meant to be hospice. And that was kind of a scary term. It was a brand new term back in the late 80s and 90s. And obviously now it's a term that's kind of exploded. Palliative care, hospice. First of all, it was just hospice. And that scared people a little bit. It meant if you came on hospice, that was a death quell. That was a death sentence. And so we softened it a little bit by saying palliative care. And in essence, that just means basically comfort. Who doesn't want that? And not just at the end of life, but all through their lives. And so I became involved in hospice because at that hospital, I got to meet lots of different hospice patients, and I got to meet a lot of hospice families. And obviously, I had the opportunity to get to meet a lot of hospice staff. One day they asked me, "Hey, have you ever thought about being a hospice chaplain?" At that particular time, I was a full-time parish minister and was doing very good. So I never really thought about it too much. And then I started thinking about it a lot more. And I didn't say why, but I really started asking, why not? And so I literally flipped my career. I became a full-time hospice chaplain and now a very part-time parish minister. It's the best of both worlds. I get to do everything that I've always liked to do. Still be involved in a church, not sit in a pew, and have this one-on-one, this great relationship with families, certainly with patients, and absolutely with staff. So my experience with palliative care and hospice has been a lengthy one, and you can imagine in 1994 to this current time of 2017, oh my goodness, the changes that have happened. Folks, think about it, 1994. There was no internet. I couldn't have done this video like this. In 1994, no iPhones, no virtual reality. We didn't even have a beeper back then. Yes, we used payphones. It was a quarter to make a call. Things have changed dramatically. And again, this whole sense of palliation, palliative care, comfort measures has evolved in such a magnificent and an awesome way. And something tells me, because over these past 22 years, we've just scratched the surface of how it is that we can serve families and patients at a most premium way, not just at the end of their lives, but certainly as we all sort of wind to those particular places that takes us to a time and a spot where we all need a little bit more comfort, a little bit more care. Listen, if I could tell my earlier palliative care, my earlier hospice self something, I think it would be this. Be a companion. I mean, first and foremost, that's really what we are to begin with. We are a companion. And you know, the best thing about that is that obviously we get the chance to do something for people that maybe nobody else can. That's just to companion them in a very particular and a very intimate way. I've always found out that it's not me that gives to patients and families, it's patients and families that give to me. Nobody in 22 years has ever shown me how to die. Every single one of these people have shown me how to live. It's their journey, but it's my path. And I've been so fortunate to journey along with them. So as a spiritual care coordinator, as a chaplain, I never ask anybody, what do you believe? I ask them, what sustains you? We're not undefeated. We've all suffered losses. And I'm just not talking about through death. I'm talking about sometimes the most painful losses of relationships or lost dreams or failings. What sustained a person? What sustained you when you lost? What helped you through that? Now, patients at this particular time are very, very honest. Sometimes they'll say, listen, it was drugs. It was alcohol. Sometimes people say, it was my faith. It was my belief. It was my community of surroundings, of family and friends. Sometimes people are still struggling with those kinds of things. They're struggling with the whys, the how comes, the what fors, the what ifs. I love thinking that I'm a storyteller, but I think my greatest role in hospice has always been a story hearer. Everybody has a story to tell. And it's our job as these kinds of caregivers to not just tell the story, but to hear it. Everyone needs to tell it. And we're there to hear that story because everyone has that story that just doesn't need to be told. It desperately needs to be heard. We are those people. What a fortunate thing. So you see, in the best, we're here to companion people. Some people call compassion, and it's compassionate care. Look at that word compassion. What does it mean? Suffering with. And it's never the suffering that we put the emphasis on. It's the with. And we've been fortunate enough to do that and to be a part of that time with people. And what a most important time. So this intro to this topic, why is it important? I could probably even more importantly ask, why is it not? My biggest complaint in all of these years has simply been this: everybody deserves palliative and hospice care, not just at the end of their lives, but all of their lives. And maybe the best way to provide that is not to hope for it, not to hope that one day legislation will include all those things, especially today in this culture of we're not sure where everything's going to go, but to be that person to every person that you happen to meet. Hey, I'm really glad that I had this little opportunity to share with you my experiences, and I hope, I trust, that your experiences with death and dying will be one of those that will be very enriching, not only for what you provide, but especially what will be provided to you. Listen, our biggest flaw in life is sometimes that we don't notice what we recognize. Don't let that be the case for you. We're all a part of caring for one another. Now, here, without boundaries, without labels. Let's do our part. Thank you.